Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at a couple new models from Buck Knives. That's the new Buck Range Elite and Mini Range Elite. So let's go ahead and get this open here. Now, even if you're very familiar with Buck Knives and you've had, say you've had a 110 your entire life, I guarantee this one's going to shake things up a little bit. It's not going to be like one you've held before. Here you can see that is a crossbar lock. If you think of a modern EDC folder, it's typically slim, fidget-friendly with an awesome new modern blade steel like MagnaCut, and that's exactly what this is. So yeah, starting up there at the blade, this is using CPM-MagnaCut blade steel, using, of course, their Boss heat treat, which they are very famous for. This does have dual thumb studs on either side. Of course, a good amount of jimping back here on the spine. This is a flat grind, and it does have a super nice satin finish on there. And like I mentioned there at the beginning, this is using a crossbar lock. It feels really great, super fidgety. So that is the full size. Then we have the Mini Range Elite. And I gotta say, I actually greatly prefer the Mini Elite. The full size, it's almost a little too big for my hand personally. If you have bigger hands, it'll probably be perfect. The Mini feels awesome for me. It really is right at like a 3-finger, and then the pinky kind of wraps around right at the bottom. But you still get a good amount of jimping, great control over it. If I flip it onto the spine, you can see that the thickness is like identical. So while it's smaller, it's not like too small or too slim to the point that it feels like you can't use it. Even that blade stock thickness is the same. Now, these both do come in a bunch of different colorways as well. So those are black. Then we have their green, and then a gray anodized. So these are all anodized aluminum. I'm going to go ahead and move most of them out of the way here. I'll leave a couple of the different colors out here. And now I want to go ahead and do a couple size comparisons. So one of the first ones that you'll probably think of is the Kershaw Bel Air. And I just want to show you real quick how that looks between them. It's the perfect middle ground between these two. So if you wanted one that's slightly bigger or smaller, that's them. And again, they're like the same thickness, and it's the exact same here for the Bel Air. They're almost identical. So if you've held this, you'll know pretty much what these feel like in hand. And then, of course, I got to do some other classic aluminum crossbar locks here with the Osbornes. So there's the full-size and mini. You'll see that that full-size Osborne is pretty comparable there. The mini, not so much. And of course, last but not least, you've got the bug outs. So let's see here. Yeah, the full-size bug out, not quite as comparable, but the mini bug out is actually a lot closer. So just to give you a little bit of a scope of what you're dealing with. And of course, we'll bring in a ruler just to see the exact measurements here. So it looks like the overall length of this one is a bit shy of 8 inches. I'll call that 7 7/8, with a blade length of right around 3.5 and 3 1/4 of that being your cutting edge. And then bringing in the mini here, definitely shrunk down a lot, bit over 6 inches. Just call that a nice even 6 1/4. The blade length is right at about 2 3/4, with just over 2.5 of that being your cutting edge, so 2 9/16. And then I also want to go ahead and bring in a scale here, just so we can see what we're working with weight-wise. So yeah, as I said, these are full aluminum construction, and then it is stainless steel hardware, so that might add slightly to the weight, but there's not too much of it. Both of them have those 4 body screws, well, 3 body screws, and then the pivot, and then you do have the exact same clip on here, just shrunk down. That is a stainless steel clip, which is reversible. So it is a fully ambidextrous knife using those dual thumb studs, an ambidextrous lock, and now a flippable clip. And then it does have stainless steel liners in there that do carry down right at about halfway down the handle. So that'll add to the weight slightly, but it's really not bad. Yeah, for the mini, we are just under 2.3 ounces, and the full size, about 3.5. For a knife this big, that is really not bad at all. Like, let's go ahead and bring in a mini bug out for comparison. It's slightly lighter than the Mini there. And again, both of these are the aluminum handled versions, 2.5. Do this Bel Air real quick, because that's right in the middle there. And yeah, that really does fall right in between the weight of those two. So it's kind of like weight to size ratio, extremely comparable to that Bel Air. So I am incredibly impressed by this one. Buck has blown it out of the water, in my opinion. They've had one of the strongest names in the industry for such a long time, but coming out with something like this is such a good idea, and I think this is like the perfect time for it as well. In this industry, we've been seeing prices just go up and up and up, but for these same materials and very comparable knives from other US manufacturers, you can be looking at over $300 easily. But as of recording right now, the minis are coming in right at like $210, while the full size are right about $220, which, as I said, is about $100 cheaper than a lot of the competitors. So that's pretty cool. And again, you are supporting a USA made and manufactured company. So I don't know if it gets any more like American than a buck knife. So I'd love to know your opinions in the comment section below. I know I'm stoked to see it. My first knife ever was a buck knife, and now it might be my most recent as well. As always, if you want to read even more about these or pick up one for yourself, there are links in the description box down below. They'll take you on over to gpknives.com. But before you head over, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay sharp.